Welcome to this men's side part tutorial. This is a whole head scissor cut with lots of techniques that I'm going to break down for you in the easiest possible way. I'll also cover the single biggest mistake a lot of beginners make when they're scissor cutting a side part. So this is what we're starting with. It's dry at the moment. I'm going to wet the hair down and I'm going to part the hair as it's going to sit when the haircut's finished. I'm going to keep the hair in this position for the duration of the haircut. It's not going to move from there. At the side of the head, our first cut is going to be a section of hair that is the depth of the comb. And I'm going to take lots of sections and I'm going to bunch them all up together. Let me explain. So here is the first section. I've got enough hair that I can manage in between my fingers and I'm cutting it down to a length that I still have a little bit of movement. So if I take a little bit of that section and a little bit of the next one, I can see what I cut in the previous section. And I'll keep working my way across the head just like that. So this is getting me down to kind of the length that I want the hair to be. I'm going to make this ever so slightly shorter with a different technique and much more polished and neat. So I'm going to work quite far back here. That's a good area covered. So I'll comb it nice and neat into the side part again. And now what I want to do is wet this down and I'm going to start taking horizontal sections, working from the top to the bottom and getting slightly closer towards the bottom. So the way this works is I just slide the scissor in, I pick the hair up and I'm cutting across. You can see I'm not taking too much off higher up, but as I get closer to the edges, down towards the sideburn area, I'm going to start getting a little bit closer. Just because there's not a lot of hair on the sideburn, it doesn't mean you don't need to take lots of sections. Keep moving down and taking little sections as you work your way down. On the temple, this is a slight angle, so I'm going to work sections just at an angle towards the face here. Doesn't need much. You can see how little I take as I get towards the edges. So if you're only taking one hair, that's okay. That's what I'm doing too. Okay, so I'll step over and over more towards the back of the head where I worked around to with my initial sections. Now I always work from the top down because I find that easier. I don't want to work from the bottom up. If I work from the bottom up the way, it means that the hair that's not already cut is lying on top of what I want to cut. Back of the scissor in and cut away from the ear. Make sure you keep it nice and clean and don't miss anything. So more sections now, I'm going to work my way down. And you see that I illustrated a slight angle as I get down towards the ear. I'm just kind of following the head shape with the scissor. Keep the comb on top of the ear to keep the ear safe. You want that plastic in between the metal and the skin. So I'll pull all this down, this hair, pull it towards the ear, and I'm going to cut along the hairline. Don't cut inside the hairline. And actually, for this haircut, don't cut longer than the hairline. I think it just looks neat right on the hairline. So carrying on with this technique, I'm working my way down again. Importantly, make sure the tip of the scissor is getting in behind the hairline and you're picking the hair up. Don't miss any of that hair that's on the hairline. You can see I'm getting into long stuff, very long hair at the bottom here now. Don't worry about that. I'm going to explain a little bit more about that in just a minute. So I'll keep working my way down. This is a process of taking bulk and then refining. So the vertical sections I took at the start with my fingers, they're removing the bulk, and then these horizontal sections refine it. Don't worry about that long hair there. We'll come back to that shortly. Let's do some more of those vertical sections. We'll work across the back. So this is taking down that bulk, which I'm going to refine shortly. You can see how long it is, so we need to debulk that. But what I'm doing is I'm creating a shape. I'm not matching the shape of the skull. I'm making it slightly longer as I work my way up the head. And that's going to build into the long hair at the top, so it kind of supports that long hair. A lot of beginners make the mistake of trying to go too short as they get towards the crown, and then they end up with the crown standing on end, which is what you really don't want. So keep a little bit more length nearer the crown. Now look how long that is there. We've got this short area and then all this long hair beneath it. So what we'll do is we'll take horizontal sections again and bring in the horizontal sections as we work down the head. So scissor over comb, working top to bottom. Now this really helps if you're using a 6 or a 7-inch scissor. This scissor I'm using here is a 6-inch. It's quite lightweight, it's very, very sharp. It has a convex edge, which is only made with high quality steels. This particular one is a Japanese vanadium steel, extremely hard and perfect to sharpen a scissor into what we call a convex edge, which is a much sharper point than the traditional bevel edge scissors. So ideal for scissor over comb, and you can use it for things like slicing and texturing as well. But the main thing is 6 or 7-inch, because look at how much area we can cover just with a 6 or a 7-inch scissor. You can pick up a lot of hair with it, nice broad sections, and obviously it's going to be cleaner that way. Okay, there's less room for imperfection if the section's very broad. There's the short hair on the comb, and I'm just working my way down. Now, I'm working at speed here. You don't need to work as fast as me. I've been doing this for 25 years. If you're doing this, slow down, really take your time. It's not as easy as it looks. It can be done. It just takes a little bit of practice. But the key is take really thin, small sections, okay? Don't take an amount that you're going to be laboring through. And if you find that you're doing that, you know what you're also going to get? You're going to get lines in your haircut. If the section's too thick, that's what causes lines. Some people call them scissor marks. It's not the scissor, it's the size of the section you're taking that's causing it. So keep your sections thin. Just look at how much I'm picking up. It's not a lot. So comb stays on top of the ear. Remember, keep that plastic between the metal and the skin. Delicate work down around the nape of the neck there. Okay, I'll step over. And now just keep working down. But you can see how effortless it is when you're using a longer scissor. So this hair at the back here, I'm going to cut a straight line down here, but it's not the final line, okay? You're going to see as soon as I cut this that there's some hair left on the neck. Fine, just leave it there. We're going to get this with the trimmer when we do all the finishing work at the end. We want to get so close with the trimmer that it's not actually possible to get that close with the scissors. So it's safer and easier to do with a trimmer, and it'll look much better. So I'll keep working my way towards the face and down towards the ear. Always remember the plastic stays on top of the ear. And slightly more towards the face on these sections. I'm kind of going with the flow of the hair. So if it flows towards the face, make your horizontal sections towards the face. And back of the scissor, slide it down and then cut away from the ear. On top, let's address the number one mistake that most beginner barbers make on this haircut. What they do is they cut it square, so their fingers are horizontal to the top of the middle of the head, and they end up with this weight line right down the middle. So there's a way to avoid that, and that is to tilt the fingers out. Let me explain this a little bit better. So if we take a section and cut it square, watch what happens when it falls. You get this weight line right down the middle where all the ends of the hair fall to. Let's say we cut it more at an angle. Well, when it falls, the ends of the hair are further apart, so you don't have all this weight right down the middle. This is what you call layering, so it's layered. So if it's square, so instead of square, let's cut it at an angle, and then when it falls over, we have it layered. All the hair kind of lands at different points, all the ends of the hair, a nice layered finish. So I'll start at the back of my parting, and I'm going to work my way from the back towards the front, taking sections just no more than the width of the comb. Thin sections. We don't need mountains of hair in the section, only a little bit. And I'll just work my way across, okay? Now I'm angling my fingers out. This is key, because when the hair falls over, we don't want that weight line. Remember, a line of weight right down the middle of the head. And then if you don't understand how to fix it, you're scratching your head. You're like, why has that happened? How do I get rid of it? And then the thinning scissors come out. The demons, the worst tool in the barber shop, the thinning scissor. Leave them alone. You can fix this with layering. Layer it. It looks way better. Let me just perfect this again, this parting. I want to see the haircut as I'm cutting it. So on the middle now we can take straight sections because the top of the head's flat there. Well, there's a slight curve, but it's flat. So I'll look at my fingertips. There's going to be some short hair, and I'll cut across. I'll use that as my guide. So our sections are nice and thin, working from the back towards the front, okay? Now what I'm doing here is I'm using the hook of the comb and I'm pulling from left to right. Quite honestly, I don't think that's the most efficient, and I realize that as I'm cutting it. I think, no, let's not go that way. Let's go from right to left. You're going to see now, look, I'll push all the hair over. Let's pick up this way, easier. Look, I don't need to use my fingers to drag across, slide the comb in and just pick up a thin section, just a comb width. That's all I need. Much easier to go in that way. When I was dragging it the other way, I was pulling all the hair out of position. Now, have you ever tried cutting hair like this, keeping it in the same position from the start of the haircut to the finish? For some reason, if you do, you're going to find it very, very easy. I would like to know, by the way, where are you up to with your scissor cutting and how are you getting on with it? What kind of difficulties are you having? Do you ever find that you're having weight lines in places? Do you find that there's weight in certain areas? I'd love to solve that for you. So if you have any issues, you find that you're always getting weight lines in the same place, tell me in the comments where that problem's occurring and we'll try and get that addressed in future videos. Now, I like to cut the top in 3 distinct parts. So we did the parting, we did the strip down the middle, and now we're cutting at an angle in the direction of the side part. Okay, cutting towards the temple fringe area. So slight angle. And I'm copying the shape of the head with these sections. So these are tipped out at a slight angle as well. Slight. I'm going to cut the fringe separately. That'll be cut on its own aside from the top, and I'll show you just a little technique so that you don't get your fringe too short and too bulky as well. A little bit more H2O on there. And I'm going to connect. So there's this area here that hasn't really been touched, and that's between the top and the side. So let's connect. Let me know what you think about this technique, by the way. And I don't know if you use this debulking and then refining technique, or if you use a different technique. Some people like to cut the whole thing under tension, where they use the fingers the whole time. This without tension is what I would call it, when you just pick up and you leave the hair on the comb like this, and it's relaxed. I call that without tension. So on the fringe, let's pull the comb to the side when we cut it. Don't pull it straight down, pull it to the side. And then when I let go of the comb, it's sitting at the length I want. Okay, we're not getting a nasty surprise where we pull it down, cut it, and then comb it across and find that it's too short because we didn't leave enough. So a little bit of trimming around the edges. Slide the comb in, and this is trimmer over comb. So I'm just running the comb. I angle the comb out slightly so that the hair gets slightly longer as we work up the comb. So then just use the corner of the trimmer just to get the little hairs around the hairline. Actually, be careful when you're doing this not to go inside the hairline. Okay, you're just right on the hairline. We don't want our client to look like they had their hair cut in a hospital. We don't want it to look like a surgeon's cut it. Incidentally, at one time in medieval Europe, surgeons did cut hair and barbers performed surgery, but that's a tale for another day. It's a true story. It did happen. But now we're just barbers and we don't want to leave a haircut looking like it's been a surgery. So stay outside that hairline, okay? We're only looking for the hair that sticks out around the edge. These T-blades are actually quite useful. If you're buying a trimmer or if you have one, get one with a T-shaped blade because it's easier to get into those angles with the T-shape, especially around the ear. You can just use the corner, it extends in slightly. Most brands now have a trimmer with a T-blade. I'll leave some links below for a couple that I like. Try and get this area nice and straight. Here's a better angle. You can see it on this side. So, very clean. This is what really finishes it off, I think. You know, your scissor cut never looks neat and tidy until the very end when you just polish up with the little trimmer. At the back here, get the neck here, and I'm just picking away with the comb just to taper that a little bit. But be careful not to go in hard just above the hairline, as always, as I keep saying. And then I'm going to refine very quickly. This is something I do. I just check the whole haircut over, give it a little bit of refinement. If you were Vidal Sassoon, that's what you would do. Here's our final haircut. Tell me what you think. Was this tutorial useful for you? Do you think you could do it? Let me know what you think. But until next time, good luck with your scissor cuts, and I'll see you in my next video.